So welcome to Neurochanging Your Results. Over the last couple of sessions, we've spoken a little bit about beginning to understand how our mind ticks. And today I'm going to show you a really cool little tool and technique that you can use at any time when you find yourself maybe not so in charge of your state and thus not in charge of your results. So let's have a look at this. We've spoken before about the NLP communication model. I'm just going to touch on this a little bit more. So we have an external event that happens outside of us. We take in the information through our 5 senses, and this information usually comes at us at about 2 million or so bits of information per second. The unconscious mind deletes, distorts, and generalizes the information that we take in, and we only take in approximately 126 bits of information. Now, these 126 bits of information, we create an internal representation. And today we're going to talk to you about that internal representation that you create with those 126 bits of information or so that you get in, and how you can begin to understand how you can neurocharge those so that the internal representation, becomes a little bit more resourceful for you. So as I said, just to put this into some sort of perspective as to why it's important to do this. So we get this information from outside ourselves. We create an internal representation that, coupled with the way we feel, meaning our emotions, and our physiology, the way we hold our body affects the neurochemicals that are released in our body that go back up to our brain, will then create what happens next or creates our behavior. So if you're wanting to neurochange or neurocharge, as I call it, your success, you need to be in charge of these internal representations. And also, you need to be in charge of your state, and you need to be in charge of your physiology. So the physiology is probably the easiest one. You can actually Google these on YouTube, things we call power poses. And power poses is like, I call it the Wonder Woman stance, the way Wonder Woman used to hold herself when you used to see her, on TV, holding your shoulders back, pushing your chest out, really standing like you're confident and powerful. That creates certain neural chemicals, or neurotransmitters in your body, which go up to your brain and change the way you feel. The other one is actually changing the way you feel, and that can be done even just through thought, okay? So if you want to be in charge of your state, it's what you're thinking about. So you can choose to be happy just by thinking about things that make you happy. So being consciously aware of what it is that you're focusing on can absolutely change your state and how you feel. So I often have clients say to me, I want to be happy. And I say, well, what is preventing you from being happy right now? What is your focus? So focusing on things that give you a certain feeling allow you to change your state. We're going to have a look at how we can change the internal representation in a moment. Now, these 3 things are all work together, so they're not mutually exclusive. So in order to neurocharge your results, you need to change your behavior. So these 3 need to work together. So here's a few ways that you can be in charge of your state. In NLP, we actually teach something called anchoring, which allows you to be in control of your state very quickly. But some other ways you can change the way you feel is through meditation. Meditation is one of the most scientifically proven facts that you can actually change your state. It takes you from sympathetic, which is fight or flight, stress mode, into parasympathetic, which is more peaceful, calm. So meditation is a great way if you're not feeling the best, if your emotions are not quite as resourceful as you wish them to be on a specific day or for a specific task, or you're about to do something that's important. Meditation is always great. It helps to, put you back into that state of feeling more at peace, more calm. Self-hypnosis is another great way to be in charge of your state. Very similar to meditation. Slight differences. People often ask me, what's the difference between meditation and hypnosis? There are slight differences. Hypnosis is more directed. Meditation is more free-flowing. Relaxation, just breathing exercise, practicing some mindfulness, anything at all that causes you to relax, and walking away from a situation and taking some deep breaths will actually, again, it's a form of meditation. Breathing is a form of meditation. It will take you into a relaxed state again, and you can be more in control of the state that you're in. Also, learning emotional regulation. And emotional regulation is things like learning emotional intelligence, learning to be more in touch with what you're feeling and why. And there's lots of different things that you can do for emotional regulation. Awareness is number one. Without fail, you need to be aware of your emotions and how they actually begin to feel in your body before the emotion takes over, which is very, very important. So, oops, sorry, I'm just checking. I have got a comment, so I'm going to just turn down my phone and have a look at the comment I've got. So if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat. Also pop them, if you're watching this on a replay, pop them in to the comments and I will get back to you as well. So that's a couple of ways that you can be in charge of your state. But we're going to have a look at how you can neuro-hack your internal representation. When I spoke about the NLP communication model, I spoke a little bit about we take in through our senses approximately 2 million bits of information per second. There are other schools that actually say we take more than that. So this information comes in through our sight, so we see things, through our ears, we hear things, through our touch, we feel things, through our mouth, we taste things, and through our nose, we smell things. So visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, and olfactory. And so this information's coming in at us and we take it in and then we give it a label. We create an internal representation through what we call auditory digital or self-talk, where we give the meaning to something we've seen or we heard or we've tasted or we've touched or we've smelled. Now, this internal representation is held within our psyche in a certain way. And the way it's held is by something we call submodalities. And submodalities are the finer distinctions of the modalities. The modalities being the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, the gustatory, and the olfactory. And we have finer distinctions called submodalities. So just to give you an example of what I mean by that, a picture might be, you might be holding a picture of something in your mind and it might be black and white or color. It might be far away or it might be really, really close to you. They are what we call in NLP submodalities. So the reason why we need to look at these is because the internal representation is held inside of your psyche with these submodalities. Now, one of the things that I want you to think about is just to think about something that you really, really like. And just close your eyes if need be for a moment and just picture, where is it? Where are you holding that? Is it close to you or is it really far away? Where are you holding that internal representation within your psyche? And then think of something you don't like. Again, close your eyes and notice where that is, because this is the real important part. Because the way you can change the way you hold an internal representation of something is by changing, moving those sub-modalities. So usually what tends to happen is that people will hold in their mind's eye, I suppose is probably the best way to explain this, an internal representation of something, either very close to them, further away, might be up towards the left, up towards the right, but they hold it in a different location. So let's say that you have an internal representation of something. I'm going to use this example because it's something that I find is very, very a big issue for my market or my niche. And that is following up calls. So let's say when you think about having to pick up the phone and following up a potential client, you begin to feel a certain way, okay? And that feeling will start to happen. That'll be your state because, right, you've got an internal representation of, oh, people don't answer the phone, they're rude, whatever it is for you. So you want to change that because you're not going to show up. Your behavior is not going to be resourceful for you if you're showing up like that. So what you want to be doing is you want to be looking at where you're holding that particular internal representation. What's the location of it? Is it really close to your face? And then what you want to do is practice moving it away. And you might find that if you practice moving that internal representation away from you, pushing it right away from you, that it will actually lose its pull. So just have a think about this for a moment. Not only are you able to change your posture, are you able to start focusing on something that makes you a little bit happier, like thinking of a really good sales call that you had with a potential client who converted to make you feel better. But you can also push that picture right away from you so it loses its absolute charge. And this can be done with many, many different things that you have an internal representation for. Maybe you have an internal representation of you're not good enough. Close your eyes and have a think about where are you holding that? And then push that picture away from you or make it dim. Do whatever you need to do to have it lose its charge. Because the way submodalities work is that once you move the submodalities, what we call the drivers, and the drivers are usually, not always, but are usually the distance, it actually helps change the way you hold that internal representation, and thus being able to change your state, what you're focusing on, being able to change your physiology, and then changing the location of your internal representation will actually allow you to neurohack that internal representation, that state, that situation, and thus your behavior will then have to change because your internal representation is different. Your state is different. And also your physiology is completely different, creating new neural network pathways. So have a think about what internal representations you hold that are not resourceful for you, and just begin to practice this. Another great way you can do this is, let's say there's an internal representation that you have that you like, a feeling that you have, or as I said before, a phone call that you made to a potential client that went really, really well. You can access that by bringing that internal representation up and have a look at where it is. Maybe that's sitting far away. Maybe what you need to do is move that one closer, so that now the internal representation of calling clients becomes something that is more passionate for you to do. You don't hold that the same. You bring that closer so that your feelings begin to change. And then you make the phone calls. So just a couple of little things that I wanted to go through. This is an easy one. This is by no means the only things that we do in NLP to change your state, to change your internal representation, to change your physiology, and thus changing your behavior. But I've always said it, everything starts with us. And becoming aware of how we hold situations allows us to be more in charge of ourselves, and thus in turn be in charge of our behaviors. And our behaviors always create our results. I hope you found this valuable, guys. If you're looking for more of these hints and tips, please, you can follow me on any of these social media platforms, including the groups where I do put these live, and that is Business Secrets for Complementary Therapists and Coaches. But you can find me under Sandra Madaffri. I'd like to thank you for watching this, and I look forward to bringing another one to you very, very soon.